Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on just the never-ending circus that is DC live action, whether it's in the movies or the TV stuff. But I am not alone, and this is not an alien joining us, not some X-Files stuff. It's actually Eric's Reloaded, aka DJ Eric. So say hello, DJ Eric.
I mean, I could be an alien. We don't know for sure, but
don't give yourself away. I think you might get in trouble for that one. But anyway, thanks for joining me. So we're going to be talking about a lot of crazy stuff that came out over the past, hopefully 24 hours from when you're seeing this video. But we know DC's been in this period of major change over the past, I don't know, 2 weeks, I think, since James Gunn officially took over. But I'd say the past handful of months since the Warner Brothers process. But I guess specifically, there's been a lot of rumors and stuff over the past 2 weeks with James Gunn coming in and what they were going to do and what they weren't going to do. But what have your immediate reactions been to the general setup that's been pushed forward with James Gunn and I guess Peter Safran's new DC universe?
I think it's a pretty first of all, I think a lot of what we've been hearing is basically dealing with not only what the public expectation is, but also with all of these scoopers that seem to have quote unquote inside information. So they're kind of fighting back against that, but also trying to supply us with fun information to look forward to what DC is going to be. So for me, I've really just been enjoying the bouncing back and forth between what is being said and these rumors and what we're actually getting. And James Gunn is a visionary, so I feel like we should just see what he's going to do, as fans.
Yeah, I feel like it's been the whole scoop thing's been almost like a game of ping pong, but instead of a ping pong ball, it's a grenade. Just which one does it explode? Which end does it explode at first? But that's the only, I guess, interesting thing with James Gunn coming in is that he is active on social media. Kevin Feige has a Twitter account. A lot of people probably wouldn't even know that he has a Twitter account, but he hardly tweets from it. He tweets just businessy sort of stuff or new movie out, something like that. But James Gunn's very interactive, which is going to make this whole experience for the next whatever amount of time it is very interesting, because if someone posts some ass, not good ass but bad ass on Twitter, most likely Twitter, could be somewhere else, but maybe just ends up on Twitter, he'll sit there and debunk it. He's done that on 4 different things already. So I guess that's a positive thing there, and things don't get to marinate for that long. They just get debunked straight away by him, which is good. But over the past month, I'd say, or maybe actually longer. When did Black Adam come out? 2 months ago?
Yeah, it's been been 2 months. Yeah.
God, it feels like it was 2 seconds ago, but for the past 2 months, I guess in regards to DC, if you remove James Gunn out of the equation, one of the big talking points has been Henry Cavill, or Henry Cavill, as some would say, because of the post-credit scene. I won't spoil it if you didn't know already, but I guess it doesn't really matter now anyway. But he appeared in this the post-credit scene for Black Adam for 10, 15 seconds on screen.
Yeah, and it got spoiled before the movie even came out.
By not even just random people. The Rock just pretty much spoiled it as well. But he looked good on screen. I was like, okay, that's cool that he's back. But there was no real direction as to him coming back. I was like, okay, well, he's back. Then what? You can buy me a potato, but what am I making with the potato? It could go many different avenues. So we weren't too sure what was going to happen. I was going to say Cavill. I never say that, but Henry Cavill himself posted on Instagram saying that he was back as Superman. I think the weekend following Black Adam coming out.
It was very shortly afterwards, because I think that they wanted to jump on top of the news cycle, basically.
Yeah, it wasn't even a week or two after. It was I think it was the weekend, 3 or 4 days after the movie came out. So everyone was like, okay, sweet, he's back, but that was it. There was no announcement of a signing of a contract, no announcement of a Man of Steel 2 or any sort of thing related to his character. I
distinctly remember us having a conversation about the fact that people were getting excited about this, but there was nothing on paper. There was no script being done. There was no contract with Henry and the studio. There was no producer or director or anything attached to a film. It was so early in the process that I was skeptical back then. So
yeah, I think these are one of those things where if something isn't laid out clearly, then you shouldn't really put all your hopes and dreams into it, because then you get a situation like this. And that situation was today, only a couple of days after James Gunn had to debunk someone saying that he hated Henry Cavill as well as Superman or whatever it was. But James Gunn tweeted out this exactly. So he said, Peter and I have a DC slate ready to go, which we couldn't be more over the moon about. we'll be able to share some exciting information about our first projects at the beginning of the new year. So we're going to be waiting at least another 2 or 3 weeks to hear anything. Among those on the slate is Superman. In the initial stages, our story will be focusing on an earlier part of Superman's life, so the character will not be played by Henry Cavill. But we just had a great meeting with Henry, and we're big fans, and we talked about a number of exciting possibilities to work together in the future. So I wasn't on Twitter when all this happened. I think I might have gotten to this about an hour late or something. So everything had hit the fan, hit the floor, and no one had been to clean it up as of yet. So it was a big mess. It was trending everywhere. A lot of different reactions, but most of them, I don't know if they were necessarily negative. I think it was just a lot of disappointment. It just felt like a dull, like a dull environment to be in. Like no one was clapping it, but no one was like, well, there were people that were angry. Don't want to say that.
I mean, I've already seen people that are angry. Yeah, there's people out there that are pretty.
But it just felt like there's a lot of disappointment.
Yeah,
especially based off the Black Adam stuff. Like that was like, okay, if you were a Henry Cavill Superman fan, you were like on a 3, of excitement just in general.
Look,
then
you
when
know
that happened, you jumped up to a 9.
Yeah, I like poking at people sometimes, especially people that sort of get attached to like, one actor as one character and that's all it can ever be. But in this instance, I do feel kind of bad for the people who are like huge Henry Cavill Superman fans, because the studio 2 months ago made it seem like this was the direction they were heading in. And like almost immediately the rug has been pulled out from under these people's feet. And I feel bad. So
yeah, like it's just like, I don't even know. It's almost like, I don't know, we're around Christmas time. It's like seeing your mum walk in, she's got the new Transformers toy, and then on Christmas Day, you open, you got a Barbie. It's just like, it's not what you wanted. You thought you were getting something. You saw your mum buy it.
Like, no,
yeah, it's like, where did the Transformers go? It's like, oh, I gave it to your cousin. I'm like, well, why'd you bring it here?
I told you I wanted a Nerf gun.
Yeah. The disappointment was on a crazy level. As I said, there was obviously going to be people that were very angry about it, which is fair enough. That's why you want to react. But I think it was just a lot of like, then what was the point of the Black Adam stuff? And we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Now, James Gunn followed up with some replies. So this wasn't the original tweets, but it was like people, I guess, replying to him, and he replied to them. So James Gunn said he is writing the script, but at the moment he is not directing it. Now that doesn't mean he won't direct it. It just means that I guess they're going to try and get a director for it, and if maybe they can't find the right fit, then he'll do it. Like that's a whole work in process. But the one thing that he did say was that it was not an origin movie, which I think is very important because I don't think we need it. I think everyone knows Superman's origin. It's like Batman's origin. We don't need to see it. Matt Reeves did the Batman. It was a young Batman, and it sounds like this Superman is almost going to be in the vein of the Batman. So like maybe like a year or two into being
and give
Superman.
us flashbacks where we need. Like if there's a flashback to something that needs to be done, then do that. But we don't need a full origin story. It's unnecessary.
Yeah, we don't need to go to Krypton, hang there for 10 to half an hour, whatever it is, and get there.
Yeah.
We've done that multiple times with different movies. We don't need to do that, which is fine. But like the whole thing is that he's going to be focusing on his like early days, like being a journalist, I'd assume at the Daily Planet, or maybe like his entry point into the Daily Planet and being a Metropolis and being that early Superman. I don't know if we're going to delve into like people reacting to him for the first time, because I think you may be getting into that Man of Steel territory. We don't need to do it. But also it depends what tone his Superman is.
Do you think he's already going to be like actually Superman in this film, like working at the Daily Planet? Do you think he's going to already be a known superhero in this movie?
I'd like to think yes. Maybe not worldwide. Maybe not fully worldwide. Like he's not going to the other side of the world to save stuff. But I think in Metropolis he's very well known.
I feel like they have. I feel like they have to. We can talk more about that later. But I do feel like that he needs to already be Superman at this point.
I don't think we. Yeah, I think, as I said, I think like it could be very much in the vein of Matt Reeves, the Batman, where people know who he is,
like year 2 Superman or something.
Yeah, like in that first few years of him being a superhero, known in Metropolis at the very least. But speaking of the Batman, or a Batman, James Gunn also said that he met with Ben Affleck the day before doing all those tweets, because Ben actually apparently wants to direct a movie for DC, and they want him to direct a movie as well, but they just have to find the right project for Ben Affleck. And now Ben Affleck, I think, is just moving into being a director for the most part. I don't think he really cares too much about acting, unless maybe it's like, okay, I need some money, let's do some acting, and then we'll go back to directing or something.
Throw me some cash, maybe I'll put something on.
Yeah. But this, I'm not surprised, because I think he wants to stay in Warner Brothers, and I think it probably helps being in the Warner Brothers family that you play a part in their big franchise stuff. And obviously DC's He's already like technically a part of it already. Well, why do I say technically? He's been a part of it for ages, but I mean, he's going to be in a movie next year. But what movie do you think what character do you think Ben Affleck would be associated well with?
Wouldn't it
Because
be
if
a
I
bit
think Ben Affleck,
cheeky if he did a Batman movie? Wouldn't that be
it'd be pretty
like,
funny. What if he
yeah.
directed Michael Keaton's Batman movie?
Well, I mean, he could, but I think it would be really cool because he had an idea for his quote unquote Batman movie. What if he was able to apply that to a new actor playing Batman? So basically his idea, but someone else in the suit. And I think that might be quite interesting, to be honest.
Well, you know what I could see him doing, which sort of plays into what his Batman movie would have been, is if he did the Deathstroke movie.
Yeah, definitely.
I could see that doing. They could do it make it like a mercenary spy sort of movie with Deathstroke. So Deathstroke's not just walking in, all guns are blazing and stuff, but he has to be almost like a Metal Gear Solid stealth sort of agent or something like that. Maybe it's early Deathstroke or whatever it is.
I mean, you could print money on a Deathstroke movie, to be honest. I
yeah,
feel like
easily, especially
yeah.
And then and then maybe include Batman in there. Who knows? But that'd be pretty good. But the sad part of all this, because obviously James Gunn tweeting that out, there's disappointment there. But the sad part was, I think, when Henry Cavill posted his stuff online. I think it's when that was like, this would be like a bummer for him to have to put it out there. But this is what Henry Cavill said. He said, "I've just had a meeting with James Gunn and Peter Safran, and it's sad news, everyone. I will, after all, not be returning as Superman. After being told by the studio to announce my return back in October, prior to their hire, this news isn't the easiest, but that's life. The changing of the guard is something that happens. I respect that. James and Peter have a universe to build. I wish them and all involved with the new universe the best of luck and the happiest of fortunes. For those who have been on my side throughout the years, we can mourn for a bit, but then we must remember Superman is still around. Everything he stands for still exists, and the examples he sets for us are still there. My turn to wear the cape has passed, but what Superman stands for never will. It's been a fun ride with you all, onwards and upwards." Now, this was pretty rough to read because he would have had this like burst of enthusiasm about coming back into Superman, getting to play the role again after not filming anything for it for like 5 years, half a decade, going on 6 years. Like, this is like, I don't know, it's like getting a Transformers show.
I mean, not to mention he showed up for all that stuff regarding Black Adam. He was part of that press cycle, and it's weird because we talked about it, it was odd already to have someone in a cameo, sort of out and about circling this other movie. But ever since that happened, he's been basically in interviews and he's had quotes and all this stuff. I mean, I can't imagine how he feels right now. I don't know if I'd want to, but I can't imagine. It's got to be one of the worst feelings in the world, to be honest.
Well, yeah, but I think he would have been banking on it as well because obviously he left The Witcher. Now, apparently The Witcher departure and Superman aren't connected. The Witcher departure was for a different reason. So I don't think it's going to be like,
we might be looking back at that going, I could have done a 4th season, if I could have done it.
Yeah, but this does open him up. So now he's got like no commitment. So who knows who comes and gets him now. But
Marvel
I mean, I felt bad for him when Marvel's knocking on the door. Kevin Feige. But I felt bad when I saw this. I was like, man, that's a bummer as well. And you wouldn't want to be in James Gunn's position either, because he knows that like Henry Cavill's posted stuff and everything like that. But I guess that's one of the things around him taking the job is that he has to build this universe out and he has to build it the way he thinks it's going to work for 5, 10, maybe hopefully for him 15 years and makes the most consistent and, thriving universe. So I don't know, it's just one of those things. But this brings in another question, and that's with James Gunn, reshaping this world. If he's willing to recast this way, I don't think he can pick and choose. I think if you're going to reboot, you have to fully commit. Now, I think I brought this up in one of my previous videos on this when it came to James Gunn and stuff, is that if he does choose to fully reboot, that shows that he is 110% fully committed to it, because that would involve Xing out Peacemaker and any new character introduced in the Suicide Squad that had any potential for a solo thing or continuation in a storyline. That's he's gonna have to cut it out. If that's I don't think he can pick and choose. Right. I think it has to be across the board. Otherwise, it's like cherry picking, and that opens yourself up to a lot of criticism if that's the case. Because I think you could easily have used Henry Cavill's Superman in this new world.
Yeah,
let's just make him the most experienced hero. Like you could recast, like of course the Batman situation's a mess. So I think no one would really I think, have too much of an issue if you did a recast there or just didn't use Batman in any major way. But I think if there's not a complete reboot across the board, then it's just going to open himself up to criticism. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, so I had a couple of initial thoughts right after the news came out. Well, first of all, I think that this means we won't see Black Adam again. I have a feeling that Black Adam is done.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because, and I know we'll get to this, is because of the fact that movie now, prior to that cameo, probably could have been worked into something else because it was very loosely connected. But with that cameo and stuff like that, now it feels like, what are you going to do with that? That means we're going to lose that JSA, which I was kind of excited about. So I guess no Hawkman movie now. I guess we're not going to get that. All the movies this year, I guess, if it was part of the DCEU, are now gone, I suppose. Anything that was heavily connected. This would explain why we're not getting a Wonder Woman 3 with Gal Gadot and Patty Jenkins. And this would also explain why maybe we're not getting another Aquaman. And like you said, there's commitment. There's a lot of commitment because you're throwing away, I think, a really solid Wonder Woman with Gal Gadot and $1 billion franchise with Jason Momoa. So, it's a cut clean. If this Superman movie is the first one, which it sounds like it might be, this is the restarting of a continuity for the DCU. So
yeah, but that's also a big issue heading into next year, is that you have four movies with 3 of them, I think, are 100% going to be connected to the prior DCEU, which is Shazam, obviously The Flash, and Aquaman.
Mhm.
The one thing I'm very curious to see is Blue Beetle. James Gunn has tweeted out Blue Beetle, and I think they put out some poster and it had some like insinuation on the back of like, this is like just the beginning or something. So I'm wondering, is Blue Beetle meant to be like the first movie in this new DCU? And like they'll make references that don't line up with what has come previously with, like, I guess you could say like the post Snyderverse or whatever it might be. I wonder if that's the first movie there, because otherwise, if it's not, I don't know how the hell you transition into this new reboot.
Yeah.
Because to me, it almost feels like a comic book when they go, like they went from New 52 to Rebirth, or from like the general stuff to New 52 and the DC stuff. Like you usually have like an issue 0, which establishes that world. And it's like maybe a smaller story focusing on 1 or 2 characters. Is that what Blue Beetle does?
I mean, if Blue Beetle doesn't have any direct connection to anything outside of that film, they could easily make that part of the new universe. I mean, it could easily be done. Flash would be impossible. That's the one that I feel like there's no way to. I mean, it's Ezra, and it's also connected to storylines from previous DCEU stuff. Aquaman, obviously. Nothing to do about that. Now, I could see them still doing like another Shazam movie, because Shazam, even though it's connected, it's never really crossed over. So they could probably do another Shazam if they want, depending on how well it does. But I do believe, like you said earlier, that if they're going to cut and move, it needs to be a full cut. Like it needs to be, we're done with anything that was even remotely connected to the DCEU. Anything and everything needs to be a full cut. So
that's obviously a wait and see. Like hopefully whenever they announce stuff, apparently the beginning of next year, so only like within the next month or so, hopefully it lays out some sort of faith or comfortability around, like it takes out some nerves. But the last thing I want to talk about is your favorite actor, Dwayne Johnson, aka The Rock.
Yeah.
I have to say, I've never seen someone, without swearing, F up as much as he has around this whole situation. And obviously it's easy for us in hindsight, because I don't think The Rock necessarily would have known or had any sort of inkling that James Gunn was going to be the new head and was going to plan this whole reboot and stuff when he was fighting to get Henry Cavill in to be Superman in a 10-second post-credit scene. So it's easy in hindsight to judge that. But in hindsight, it's one hell of an F up, and it's just a bit embarrassing.
Yeah.
And I think that's the only way I can say it, because Black Adam did not perform. The movie's fine. Like, it's not, is it amazing? No. Is it bad? No. It's just fine. But I don't think the whole drama that was caused, then like The Rock going on social media and like almost calling out the former Warner Brothers people that were blocking him from getting Superman, when it's come out that they had a much better idea to use Henry Cavill Superman, which is to include him in projects from here and there, but not have an own movie, because they're going to do Crisis. And that's how, and then Henry Cavill would play into that, which made much more sense than, because I didn't even think The Rock had a plan. I think his plan was, well, I wouldn't mind fighting Superman in a movie. And that was the plan. Like,
Yeah, and you know what, and you know, there's nothing. First of all, I want to say I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to fight Superman, but I think that's such a basic thing. Like that is the driving force behind all of this. Was you wanted Black Adam to fight Superman?
Yeah,
I mean, it just
like,
seems
yeah.
so surface level to me. There was no depth there. There was no thought behind it, and I think, you know, for me at least, in looking at this may have tarnished or hurt Henry Cavill, because putting him in Black Adam and then Black Adam underperforming kind of put him in a bad perspective with Superman. So
Yeah, it's just, and it's like, I mean, when you're down, because I don't know if, I mean, if this is a reboot, then there's no The Rock Black Adam. It took The Rock, was it 14 or 13 years to get the movie out after being originally cast? I mean, it might have been 15. And then it comes out, doesn't perform. There's the whole embarrassing Henry Cavill thing, and now there's a reboot. Like, it's like,
yeah,
I don't even know how to describe it. Like, I feel bad for The Rock, but at the same time, I think with the Henry Cavill thing,
but
he made his bed, so you got to sleep in it.
You know what's funny is, though, and I know most of the viewers here on your channel might not have heard me say this, but I think for months before Black Adam came out, when we were doing the podcast, I kept saying Black Adam is going to be the movie that determines what they do with DC moving forward.
Yeah.
And I truly believe, looking at where things are now and what's happening, that was a huge part of the decisions that are being made by James Gunn and Peter Safran right now.
Yeah. And I think that's probably the best way and the best note to end the video on, because that probably sums it up. So I want to thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Eric, for joining us on the channel and indulging us with your thoughts and criticisms and everything like that. Obviously, if you're not subscribed to Eric, you can go over to his channel. We do a podcast over there, or a little live stream podcast thing every weekend on a Saturday American time. So feel free to go over there and subscribe and keep your eyes out for that.
Do it.
And let me know. Yeah, do it. And let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts on this. Are you looking forward to the reboot? Do you care if he picks and chooses, or do you think they should go complete, erase the board, just, you know, in regards to at least characters, and restart there? Let me know your thoughts down there. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and catch you guys later. Goodbye.